We are at a pivotal point in American history. There's absolutely no question about it. We have members of Congress that are now saying that nonprofit Christian ministries ought to lose their tax exemption if we preach what the Bible has to say about human relations and marriage. We have people like Richard Stengel, who was the Time magazine managing editor, now saying we ought to make it a crime for free speech opportunities for Christians who simply come out with Bible-based statements that are deemed to be hate speech. And by the way, hate speech is now the new bludgeoning tool against the freedom of Christians to speak boldly and apply the whole truth of the whole gospel to the whole culture.
In particular, it is historic Christianity and traditional Christian morality that ends up getting targeted.
It's a double-edged sword that they want to be able to use both edges against us. They want to be able to say, we are believers in free speech for me, but not for thee.
Consider two stories of Christians getting in trouble for daring to articulate their Christian opinions. First, we see a case of outlawing evangelism in the Windy City.
Chicago's Millennium Park is one of the city's top tourist attractions, but now it is limiting access to those who want to share the gospel.
We go down to the city of Chicago on Friday nights. We take a train ride down there, and we walk around the city passing out different religious pamphlets that have the gospel message inside of it. We had been going to Millennium Park last year, which is a very popular attraction in Chicago. It's the site of D.Min, which is a very popular sculpture there, which many people visit. But on one night, on December 7th of 2018, myself and a few other students were in the park passing out gospel tracts, these religious pamphlets as we normally do, when I was approached by a park security guard who told me that I was not allowed to pass out these pamphlets, and I just stopped doing so immediately.
Some of Matt's friends were also stopped there that night. They had been preaching and speaking about Jesus.
We asked to see a supervisor. That supervisor then came to us and informed us that there was an ordinance in place in the park which prohibited soliciting without a permit around the streets around Millennium Park. So we stopped, we left Millennium Park.
Matt and his fellow students were able to get the help of Christian attorney John Mauck, the author of Jesus in the Courtroom.
After we tried and worked with the city for a number of months to try and change the rules, they said, these are the rules. You cannot give speeches, whatever that meant. They can't define that, and that was part of their problem. And you can't hand out free literature.
So we filed a suit against them in a federal court in Chicago, claiming that our First Amendment rights had been violated.
And if you've been to the Bean, you can see it's a lot of activity.
And to say that the First Amendment doesn't apply there, I mean, I think it's ludicrous.
And the city calls it the Chicago's town square. So we, of course, emphasized that in court. How can you have a town square and say it's supposed to be a place of quiet enjoyment?
Thankfully, a judge has issued an injunction against the city, allowing the evangelist to return. A second story demonstrating our culture's hostility against historic Christianity involves a 25-year military veteran.
My name's Colonel Leland Bohannon, U.S. Air Force retired. 2017, May of that year, I was commanding an organization called the Air Force Inspection Agency. And so I worked for the Air Force Inspector General. I had about 120 people in my command, and one of my non-commissioned officers was going to retire. The Master Sergeant requested a retirement certificate, and he also requested a certificate of appreciation for his spouse, which is a customary act that most commanders will offer to their subordinates when they retire.
So far, so good. Colonel Bohannon had a thriving career in the Air Force and had the medals to prove it. So what was the problem with signing this particular form?
His spouse was of the same sex. And so my problem came in affixing my name to a document that would cause me to affirm or endorse a relationship, or really a definition of marriage that was inconsistent with the Orthodox understanding of what marriage is in the Bible.
A higher-up seemed to solve the problem by signing the document instead of Colonel Bohannon. But the retiring officer nevertheless submitted a discrimination complaint.
So shortly after the complaint, I was suspended from command.
Would Colonel Bohannon, who was then found guilty by the Air Force of unlawful discrimination, lose everything he had worked so hard for because he refused to violate his conscience.
So the entire process, I think, took a little under a year to ultimately resolve. There were certainly times during that period of time where there was a considerable amount of angst in our home, and there was a considerable amount of stress in our family.
He received help when he reached out to the religious rights legal group, First Liberty, which helped him resolve the conflict by appealing to then Air Force Secretary Heather Wilson.
The Secretary's staff looked at it and found that really I had not unlawfully discriminated. I had only exercised my free right to exercise my religion in accordance with my conscience.
Colonel Bohannon told me that he had felt like a dark cloud had been lifted from over his head and his family's head, that this is something that had been, they'd been struggling with, not just in his professional career, but in their personal lives for several months now.
Sadly, we live at a time when many on the left are trying to squelch traditional Christian messages or morality out of the public square.
They have no other argument against the Christian gospel principles that the founders expected us to apply to the culture. Therefore, the only last resort they have is censorship. But it means that we have to continually remind the American people that the First Amendment means a level playing field for all otherwise lawful opinions. The role of debate and reasoning on issues in a public or private venue is going out the window. Right now it's let's suppress the ideas that we don't want to hear rather than debate them.